Hello, welcome to another top 5 video. So, sort of in keeping with a bit of a programming sort of development jag I'm on at the moment, I thought it'd be interesting for me to think about the top 5 podcasts I currently am listening to. And so, yeah, I've just put together a list of 5 here that I regularly listen to, check in on both, either Spotify or I actually have a separate podcatcher that I've used for a number of years now, actually. I think I was using it before podcasts started appearing on Spotify, actually. And I still use it just because I like having a single app with podcasts in it. And so all the podcasts that appear on Spotify, like a lot of podcasts, appear through there and other means. I'm just going to go through the 5 as they appear on Spotify, but as you can see, there's more tabs here, and we'll talk about other places you can find these podcasts, or go to the sort of motherlode, if you like, where the main website resides, the main distribution network is, if indeed they have that. So the 5 that I've picked are, the first one is the one I listen to the most, which is Developer Voices. And it's interesting, all of these obviously I listen to because of the content, but often with a podcast, I really like the person that's presenting it, their sort of voice, their tone, their approach. And case in point with Developer Voices, in fact, I like having this on in the background quite quiet if I can't go to sleep, because I find the guy that does this, Chris Jenkins, his voice to be very relaxing. So yeah, it's because of all of that, at the moment it's probably my number 1 pick. And they've talked about loads of interesting things. What I liked about this and was drawn to it is there's quite a few mentions of less well-known languages, but also sort of comparing them and contrasting them with better-known languages. And so I ended up pretty much, I'm in the process of sort of binge listening to this. So either at night, or if I'm out walking and I don't necessarily want to play music or just listen to nature, I'll stick one of these on and listen to it. Now the next one is probably the one I've been listening to the longest. I started listening to this once I started getting interested in doing, learning like multiple programming languages, and this is Programming Throwdown. I still listen to it on and off, but I listened to it a lot more in the early days. And some of the early episodes, they're really systematic actually in how they went through different languages. But the thing I like about this is the format, in that, yeah, they cover a programming language each episode, but there's a real nice like preamble that can actually go on for almost half of the episode, where they're just generally chatting about what they're working on that week, or things that interest them that have been in the news connected to programming. So I quite like that sort of soft lead in, and then they get on to actually talking about the particular topic in question. So the most recent one is Transformers and Large Language Models. But like I said, in the early days, there are a lot of really interesting ones on specific programming languages from way back. So it's really cool. And that's when, like I said, it was the first one I started listening to. And I still listen to it today, but not quite as much. And this was another one which I used to put on at night when I was trying to get to sleep. And I'd have on really quiet through my headphones to lull me to sleep with the Tales of Development. And then another one is this one. I've sort of really only just recently got into this. And this is associated with the Computer Society, that's IEEE. And so, yeah, there's tons of stuff on this. They're up to episode 610 it says here. I don't know why it's bouncing around quite this much on Spotify, but never mind. We'll come on to where you can also locate it on the web, and I'll also include links, as I always do, in the description. Another relatively new one. I discovered this because I was sort of binge listening to episodes about Gleam through Spotify and sort of collecting together a little playlist because I was really interested in the language and the fact that it had just sort of gone into that 1.0 stable release area. And so I'd lined up quite a number of episodes where they were interviewing Louis Pilfold about the language and various other things. And I noticed there's one recently that I haven't actually got around to listening to. So yeah, I should check that out again. But again, though, in lots, if you click, scroll down, there are loads of different topics. And in fact, rock, I know, cropped up on a Developer Voices episode as well. It looks like there is, between this, I say, and Software Unscripted, it seems like there is a bit of an overlap in terms of what they tend to talk about, on a certain timeline. So yeah, what was that? Interesting. I like these ones. If you haven't guessed already, I'm, a bit of a comparative programming aficionado. It just really fascinates me, the differences between languages. So I love stuff like this when people sort of talk about stuff historically. And this is another one I think I discovered as a result of just becoming interested in recently released languages. And so when I did some searches on Gleam, this one came up. Algorithms plus data structures equal programs, which I believe is the name of a book. And I think initially, now I think about it, this came up. Yeah, initially when I first started to listen to it, I was just curious about algorithms generally. I was trying to get a feel for what sort of algorithms I wanted to include in my Learn to Code, Code to Learn series. And so, yeah, that's thinking about it. That's when I discovered this one. And then there's a bit of a link in with some of the other stuff I was interested in connected to the history of programming languages because of this episode about just learning programming languages and stuff like that. Some stuff about Fortran. So it looks, this has got quite a bit of retro stuff in it. A lot of this versus that. Now, if we, bizarrely, and I'm not even logged in as myself here. This is just, what it would look like if I just wasn't on Spotify. This one, for some reason, is ordered in reverse order. But we'll see in a moment what the latest episode is. So, as I've said, these exist outside of Spotify. Developer Voices, there's a YouTube channel with everything on it. So this just has the audio on Spotify, but on the YouTube channel, it has the actual interviews as they were conducted over Zoom or whatever, some sort of, video conferencing, which we've all come to become quite familiar with, I think, during and post-COVID. If you hadn't already been doing stuff like that, involved in tech, I'd been using video conferencing way back, but certainly a lot more people that hadn't used it previous to 2020 suddenly had to become pretty well versed in how to use it and how to set their machines up. So so there's a nice video if you like, prefer to watch video interviews rather than listen to the audio. For convenience, I tend to listen to the audio just because it's great when I'm out walking or at night, just have one in the background. Programming Throwdown, second one I mentioned, has a really nice dedicated website, which I think has been up for quite a while. And you can see it's got the most recent one. You can search for stuff. It's got the recent episode. You can listen with captions. And lots of great links as well in here. So I like listening to this one because it's one of those things where you listen to it and you come away with like a whole shed load of a whole load of rabbit holes to go down, because they're talking about other stuff outside of the episode as well. There is a artificial intelligence podcast which I think I've mentioned in the past, which is similar to that. When I used to listen to it a lot more than I do say now, I just dip into it. I after listening to it, there'd be about like 10 things I needed to look up. So yeah, this is very much into that category. The Software Engineering Radio Podcast also has its own dedicated site. And again, you can go back through the archive this way if you want to. I mean, many of these are going to be available through Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Deezer, Player FM, and through just straight RSS. So pick your choice, make your choice. And then, here's Software Unscripted. It looks more like it's coming through an RSS feed site, but again, sort of slightly different window on it. And as with many of these, I suspect you can also download them individually to listen to offline outside of the podcatchers. And then finally, as it's abbreviated, the ADSP one, algorithms plus data structures equals programs. So yeah, dedicated website. Latest episode is C++ dying. Well, actually, that is not the latest episode. That's a featured episode. The latest episode is this: Prior Deltas and Dinner with Phineas. Yeah, so the other thing I like about this, because, it's been good doing this episode actually, because normally I'd go through Spotify, but having to track down the actual main online presence of these has turned up some interesting stuff. And this is really useful. So, if there's a language you're particularly interested in, like I'm getting interested in both Elixir and Erlang because of their connection to the Beam through finding out about Gleam. So here you can click on it and it gives you all the references anytime they might have been talking about that particular language. So there you can see 4 episodes where they somewhere along the line chat about Elixir, a couple where they talk about Elm, there's Erlang, 3 of those, and so on. So that's pretty cool actually. There's one just called Guests. Oh, there's Haskell. Now it looks like, I don't know if everything is tagged, how much they've done that, but yeah. So I found that super helpful. Yeah. So there we have it. So yeah, developer voices, programming throwdown, software engineering radio, software unscripted, algorithms plus data structures equals programs. So yeah, if there's any ones that you like to listen to that aren't these 5, do you want to just make a comment in the comment section, enlighten me, so I can check it out, because I'm always up for finding out new programming resources, particularly if there's any that you're aware of that cover comparative programming languages, or the history of programming languages. I'll be really interested in those. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future video.